Hello, everybody. It's 10 o'clock. Want to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you everyone for spending part of your Saturday morning here with me to learn more about Aqualine drones and our drone on demand services app, and specifically Flight to the Future. And I also want to give a very considerable thanks and special kind of attention to Carlos for taking the time to talk with me and learn about the program and send out an invite to this club. What Carlos has asked for, and I graciously accepted, is that for talking to the club, that we make a donation, and anybody who signs up in the Meetup Club for Flight to the Future, we're going to donate $10 for every sign up for the club to use for the benefit of its members. So I'm going to do something a little different for me as I talk about the company and the opportunity. I have a new PowerPoint presentation. The FAA has asked us to participate in Drone Safety Week or Drone Safety Month. On Wednesday, they asked us to give a presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and use that and just kind of see how it works. And it's really kind of for my benefit and for your benefit as well. So what I'll do is I'll start a screen share now and run the PowerPoint. And at the end, open it up to any questions anyone might have. All right, great. Okay, so what is Flight to the Future and who is it for? It's really for anybody. Let's see, let me get rid of this. It's for anybody who is currently working as a Part 107 pilot, or somebody who is a drone operator or would like to begin Part 107 operations. It's for airline pilots, it's for mechanics, it's for people who are tech orientated, anybody who really has an interest in aviation and now wants to begin earning, using those skills and that interest to earn a significant income. Now, a little bit about us as a company. We are many things, but we are first and foremost an airline. We're one of only 4 companies in the US that has gone through the considerable expense and effort to obtain a 135 certificate. The others are, of course, Amazon, Google, and UPS. So we're in a very, very small club, very kind of an elite club. And the reason why we did that is very simple. Drones are aircraft, and they need to be respected, and we would argue regulated as such, in order to ensure that they are used responsibly and safely. They're capable of great things, but they're also capable of great damage if not used properly. And with our talks with the FAA, that we made it very clear that that's the approach that they're embracing going forward. And as we go through this year and the next, and down the line, and the regulations start to become amended in order to open up true beyond visual line of sight, getting away from the one-to-one operation between one pilot and one drone, and all of these other, more advanced kind of missions, that's going to be going to airlines, and it's going to be written into their op specs, getting away from the waiver system. So it was very important that we leveraged our aviation experience when we went ahead and launched Aqualine Drones. Now, Aqualine Drones was conceived of by Barry Alexander. He's the gentleman on the left over there waving, about 5 years ago, going on 6 years ago now. Barry, like myself, both pilots, both flew the 747 around the world. When Barry started going around, he to Asia, to parts of Europe, to Australia, Africa, he saw that drones had been deployed in a significant way for the better part of 10 years in these places. And he used that time to go ahead and vet the industry, build a team, fully understand what drones were capable of, what their limitation was, And that's where the idea of Aqualine drones was conceived. We launched our operation 2 years ago, first week of January 2019. And we have grown very, very rapidly since that point. Right now, we are by far and large the fastest growing drone company in the entire United States. We have many lines of business. Flight to the Future and Drone on Demand are two of the most crucial. And we also have manufacturing right here in Hartford, expanding to Bridgeport, Connecticut next year, where we fully manufacture all our drones right here in the US. And we'll talk a little bit more why that's so important as we go ahead and go through the program. So we're not just airline pilots here. My background myself is an airline pilot for 20 years, and also in entrepreneurship. And I worked in business in New York City prior to that, long time ago. Barry is a serial entrepreneur. In addition to an extensive aviation background, he was a helicopter instructor. He started an air ambulance company as a young man in St. Lucia. Started multiple businesses while he was flying, and now he's taken all of that experience to come here at Aqualine. We're also distinguished military personnel. General Brooks Bash is our chief strategic advisor. He's a retired three-star Air Force general. We have some of the top technology people in the world, coders, developers, aerospace engineers, mechanical engineers. You see two of our engineers over there on the right. That's Aki's a aerospace engineer, and Mohammed, who's a mechanical engineer, working on one of our drone prototypes. And of course, we also have top business people and entrepreneurs at the executive level as well, tying it all together. All right, so why now? Why are we talking about this now? Why is the time right? COVID's up there, and that's true. But COVID is just really allowing a little bit more of an acceleration of what was already happening at an incredible speed. The UAV industry is red hot. I'm sure the guys and girls on this call see it. You guys actually have a lot of experience operating drones, so you really understand where they can be used and how they can be a benefit in virtually any industry. We talked about how big the global drone market is in places that haven't had the innovation stifled because of regulation like we have had here in the US up until recently. So commercial drone operations in the U.S. really just became viable, in any significant way about 4 years ago with the passage of Part 107. And it's still very limiting as far as what they can be done with, but nonetheless, what can be done with them. But nonetheless, it's already over a $20 billion a year industry here in this country. And Forbes says in just a few years, it's going to be over 40 billion. I think that's an underestimate. When Forbes came out with that forecast a little over a year ago, they didn't even know about Aqualine drones and the Flight to the Future and Drone on Demand. But even using their numbers, which are conservative, it's still a very impressive number in a very, very short period of time. It's really almost unprecedented. And it's been well documented that there is a huge shortage in the US of licensed and properly trained pilots, and also properly equipped. By properly equipped, I mean equipped with domestically produced hardware. There is a very strong movement that has huge bipartisan support to push the Chinese, aka DJI, out of the US airspace because of security concerns. Now we can argue whether or not those concerns are valid, but what's important is this is happening. The Drone Security Act of 2019 is making its way through Congress. Two senators that are up here in Connecticut introduced and have thrown their support behind the bill, two Democrat senators, and we also have two very staunch conservative Republicans that are backing it as well. So this is happening. The only reason why it hasn't happened yet in my opinion, is because DJI has such a large share of the market. It's anywhere from 70 to 90% of the commercial drone market is controlled by DJI currently. And up until now, there hasn't been anybody who could produce enough drones or was ready to produce enough drones to even come close to replacing those. So as we ramp up our manufacturing here in Connecticut very aggressively, we see that as helping accelerate the process to push foreign drone manufacturers out of our airspace. And we're very, very happy to fill that. So while all of this is happening, you're also seeing a broader acceptance of the technology as people slowly get exposed to it. And that's really where COVID-19 comes in. Prior to COVID-19, really the only time drones were in the news was when there was some sort of privacy concern or when they had to shut down an airport, always negative press. Now, for the first time, you're seeing the public exposed to the positive things that drones are capable of doing as far as making deliveries, critical supplies, as far as contactless deliveries, going ahead and helping with disinfecting and all the rest. So the time really is now. And that is an understatement. So what is flight to the future? Okay, you can read the slide right there. Flight to the future is essentially one half of a greater project, which is Drone on Demand. Okay, Drone on Demand Services app, which is launching here in the next few months. And that is very easy to understand. It's nothing more complicated than understanding we've taken for the first time in the world the Uber approach, the gig economy approach, and brought it to the commercial UAV industry. It's a very, very powerful concept, very, very disruptive. And Flight to the Future is the onboarding and training and equipping of the operators, of the drone pilots. And it is a very lucrative venture. We'll talk a little bit more about it as we go on, but these are not the types of jobs that you see on like DroneBase or other places. These are jobs that pay very well, a minimum to the pilot of $150 an hour and 2 hours per job, $300 per job. You can do the math very, very easily. If you do 2 jobs a day, you're billing for 4 hours. You're likely working less than 4 hours. That's $600 a day, 5 days a week, and say you work 50 weeks out of the year, that's 150 grand for true part-time work, and virtually nothing invested on the front end by the pilot. So it's a very, very powerful concept. We want to recruit and retain a certain caliber of pilot to represent us out in the field, and the only way you do that is by making sure that the people are properly compensated. So let's go on the next slide. I'm not even sure what the next slide is. So what's included? Drone pilot training and certification course, okay? I'm sure many, if not most of the people on the call on this webinar have their Part 107 license already. That is a very low bar that the FAA has set. And you know, I don't have to point any further than most people that you know who have got, or people that you know have gotten the 107 license, who've gone ahead and just done a quick online class or went ahead and just got the FAA's free materials and studied it, probably crashed a few drones after they got that 107 certificate while they figured it out. All right, it's a very low bar. Just getting your certificate makes you legal, but it does not come anywhere close to teaching you everything that you need to be safe and compliant as you go out in the field, okay? So we've taken again, an airline approach. We've designed an airline-style online training program that goes well beyond the minimum knowledge that you need just to simply pass that test. And we run everybody through it, whether you have a Part 107 license already or whether you don't. It's no different than what the airline does every time they get a new hire. It doesn't matter how much experience you have on a 737 or whatever it is that you fly, that's great, but they're gonna run you through that program just like they would the person next to you may have never flown that 737. We need to make sure that you are trained to our standards, which exceed the FAA standards. We do that, that's in step 1. Step 2 is the mind expanding journey into the AD cloud. We've gone ahead and built our own cloud here in the United States. It's fully housed on our own servers from the ground up. that's optimized for aviation and drone applications. Okay. So what that means to you, the user, is you have all of our software at your disposal, accessible from any web browser. And it manages every aspect of the drone, the flight planning, the flight execution, up to and including full automation, and the capture and storage of the data for the customer. That's extremely important. It's all done wirelessly and in real time, as long as you have an LTE signal or a Wi-Fi signal. And what that does is it really minimizes the human element to as great extent as we can with the regulation, which is always the weakest element. Generally, when you have an undesirable outcome, it's because of operator error. So we have all of the tools there in the cloud to prevent that from happening. You can go ahead and you have all of your free sources, your METARs, your TAFs, your NOTAMs, all aggregated right there in a very easy to understand format. You've got access to Lance right there in order to go ahead and get permission within a matter of seconds to launch it in controlled airspace. Automatic logging of all of the cycles and flight hours, not just on the drone, but on the individual critical components. And those components get flagged under an airline-style preventative maintenance program for replacement or overhaul before they fail, greatly increasing safety and reliability. Like I said, all of the data that the drone collects is streamed in real time or near real time, right up to the cloud for the customer to download. We handle all of the stitching and manipulation of the data, so you don't have to spend hours after you do the flight going ahead and editing and turning it into a usable product for the customer. We handle that for you on our own, which means that you spend all your time flying and earning. From there, you go to the next module, which is module 3, the mind expanding journey into drone applications. This is where you make a decision as far as what you want to get trained on, what commercial solution you want to master. Right now there's 6, and I kind of rushed in here at being Saturday. I don't have the list, but I'll try to remember them all. You have videography and photography, perimeter security, asset inspection, asset inspection, you have precision farming, agricultural monitoring, and livestock monitoring. I think there's another one that I'm forgetting in there, but it's all on the website. But the 6 that we have up there represent over 90% of the commercially viable drone services that are enabled right now. And as the regulation changes, of course, we'll be adding more. You can always go back. One of these modules is included with the program, but you can always go back and take on more, specialize in more than one area. But it's a nominal charge, about $200 in order to do that. We just ask that you become proficient in whatever it is you decided to learn the first time around before you go back and take on more. Then you go into step 4, okay? Step 4 is where we continue to really kind of exceed what's been out there before. We will register your own LLC on your behalf. It is not a franchise. It is your LLC for your benefit and your protection. You name it whatever you want. You tell us where you want to register it. You run it however you want. You're not obligated to pay any franchising fees. You're not obligated to use any of Aqualine's branding. It is wholly there for you, not for Aqualine. We give you free insurance for a year. Anybody who's out there operating now knows insurance is extremely expensive. We give you a $10 million liability policy. We have our own in-house captive insurance. That'll cost you $2,300, $2,400 or sometimes more if you were to go out to any of the other available sources out there. And the reason why we're able to do that is because we own the entire ecosystem. We know how you've been trained because we trained you. We know what kind of drone you're flying because you're flying our drone that we manufactured here. We know that that drone is being flown properly. We know that the limitations aren't being exceeded, and we know that it's being maintained. Extremely, extremely important. So we have all of those loss mitigation controls in place, and that's how we're able to offer it free for the year. After that, you still need to keep insurance after that year. You can buy it from us, or you can go out into the marketplace and buy it. We really don't care. but we will sell it to you for about $1,400 a year, which is half what you would get anywhere else. Financing for the drone, like I said, if you're going to, when you finish the program, you're not obligated to purchase our drone at all. However, if you're going to go out and represent the AD brand by completing jobs through the Drone on Demand Services app, you will need our hardware for all the reasons that I have already explained. So you can purchase the drone if you make that decision, or you can finance it with us and we'll ship it to you for no money down. And just take 10% of everything that you earn each month to satisfy the drone payment, and then you keep everything after that. So if you choose to space it out for the longest amount of time possible, which we're talking about offering up to a 24-month financing, that comes out to right around $200 a month. So we take 10% off each job you complete till you hit that $200 mark for the month, and then you keep 100% of everything after that. And then you're fully onboarded to receive jobs through the Drone on Demand app, which is nationwide. And it's only Flight to the Future graduates that will have access to these jobs because we need the training, the hardware, and everything else. Oh, and also I skipped over free cloud subscription for 1 year. That's all the software that you've been trained on to support your drone and support your mission. It's a nominal charge after that. After the first year, it's $250 a year. That's roughly $20 a month. Yeah, $20 a month. So very, very little cost after the initial enrollment into the program. Really, virtually, there's zero cost out of pocket. And going forward into year 2, still very, very little cost, especially when you're talking about $300 per job and a steady supply of those jobs as well. Well, I guess I skipped over all this. Kind of already talked about it. All right, here's a short video talking about step 1. And here we go.
Prepare for takeoff in 3, 2, 1. The drone industry is currently rated at billions of dollars, with the expectation of it doubling within the next few years. And Aqualine Drones is one of the nation's fastest growing drone and cloud solutions companies. With Flight to the Future, you are now a part of it all and have real potential to make 6 figures within your first year of operating your commercial drone company. So then, welcome to the future of aviation. This is step 1 in the Flight to the Future program. At the completion of this step, you'll have a thorough understanding of drones, aviation, aerodynamics, and the National Airspace System, which is essential for safely operating your commercial drone. Along your journey, you'll be introduced to all the key topics that are covered in the FAA's Commercial Drone Pilot Certification Examination, enabling you to successfully get licensed as a professional drone operator. There are 2 distinct parts in this educational journey. The first part introduces you to drones, how they're made, what technologies are utilized, and the best practices that have emerged in the industry. You'll learn about drone engineering, airframe design, and flight characteristics that are key to understanding the capabilities of your aviation equipment as a future drone operator. The second part of this educational journey focuses on the rules, regulations, and environmental restrictions that define and influence your operational processes and decisions. In particular, you'll learn about the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, and its responsibilities for governing civilian aviation. The future of aviation will integrate manned and unmanned aircraft in the same airspace. It is therefore important that you, as a professional unmanned aerial services provider, understand the complex ecosystem of airports, traffic controllers, and navigational facilities that make up the National Airspace System, so you can be prepared to operate safely and efficiently, just as manned aircraft pilots do. Throughout the journey, you'll be challenged to demonstrate your knowledge as you progress through the curriculum. Smart assessments at the end of each lesson further consolidate your understanding of the topics, allowing you to optimally benefit from your experience as you progress forward. Each lesson also offers a carefully curated selection of advanced topics, related bibliography that students can delve into for a deeper understanding of concepts, technologies, and best practices. For instance, see how the current technologies are being pushed to the limit to deliver autonomous drone operations that are just over the horizon, similar to the situation with driverless cars. Get a glimpse of the complex computer science and mathematics that is being employed to develop new capabilities that have the potential to disrupt the aviation industry. See how drones are evolving rapidly by examining what some of the industry innovators are doing. From heavy lift cargo drones to luxury passenger taxis, aviation is poised for a complete overhaul. By embarking on this educational journey, you are a key contributor for this transformation. Once you've mastered the necessary skills and gained an understanding of the topics presented, you'll sign up to take the FAA certification exam. Aqualine Drones will guide you through that process, and after you pass, will assist you in getting certified with the FAA as a licensed commercial drone pilot. This completes step 1 in your journey, and you're well on your way to owning your own drone business. With the skills and knowledge you now possess, along with the FAA certification, you are ready and qualified to continue forward in the flight to the future. Are you ready to launch yourself into the aviation future? Your journey starts now.
All right. I think I talked a little bit ahead of, or a lot ahead of these slides. We talked about the cloud. Here's an infographic that kind of ties it all together. Just like we were talking about, I was talking about, everything is done wirelessly. It's all managed through the cloud, every aspect of the operation, greatly enhancing safety and ease when you go out in the field to fly these missions. Good. Here are the mastered commercial solutions. The 6 that I talked about. Asset inspection. That's the one I forgot. And surveying and mapping. I think I forgot that one as well. And like I said, you're absolutely free to go back and master them all if you'd like. But please take a measured approach to it when you get out in the field. Also, we get a lot of questions when people are signing up or thinking about signing up as far as, is there enough demand in their area? The answer is yes, there is enough demand in your area across the country. Certainly, the contiguous 48 states and Hawaii, Alaska as well, as long as you're in an urban area, dense area like Anchorage. And as far as the rest of the country, even if you're in a rural area, there's still plenty of demand. That demand does vary somewhat. It's very easy to understand. If you're in New York City, if you're in Manhattan, there's zero or near zero need for livestock and wildlife monitoring or vegetative monitoring. And on the same token, but there's a lot of everything else. On the same side, if you're out in the Midwest somewhere, and there doesn't happen to be any type of infrastructure like windmills or solar farms or something like that, there's not going to be a whole lot of need for asset inspection. But there is a whole lot of need for livestock and crop and vegetation monitoring. In order to help you with your decision, when you sign up, before you get to step 3, you're going to have access to all of our market research that we've done in-house. And we put it into an interactive map for the entire United States, where you can click on individual county and apply one of 6 filters. And the 6 filters are for each of those use cases, or those broad use cases that you see there. and it'll tell you exactly how many business entities are operating or registered in that county that have demand for that type of service. So by the time you get to step three, you will be extremely well informed and knowledgeable so that you can make your decision confidently. And like I said, you can always go back and take on more if that's your desire. When we talked about step four, I neglected to say business 101. We teach you the fundamentals of business management, financing, the laws that are involved on the business side. We don't get overly complicated in there, but we teach you what you need to know. The Drone on Demand Services app is a game changer in a whole lot of ways. It's a game changer for the customer because it's going to greatly simplify what it takes to go ahead and request a drone job. And it's also going to lower the price for those services by roughly half. So once a customer has an account, they can go ahead and define a job through an intuitive app in a little more than a minute. They don't have to talk to anybody. They don't have to talk to anybody. They don't have to get any type of estimate or quote or anything like that. They just define what, when, and where, and we take care of the rest. On your side, as the operator, now you have your own business that you can scale up or down at a moment's notice. Let's say you're an airline pilot and you're on furlough or you're not flying very much today, but you're still flying. Well, you can work as much as you want, and then when the airline calls you back, you just don't turn on the app. Everybody who's out there operating now has to build their business the old-fashioned way. You're in a cutting-edge field, but you still have to run that business the way business has been run for the last last 1,000 years. You have to invest in a website, advertising, marketing, search engine optimization, knocking on doors, building that client base over time, very, very slowly. And that all that time that you're out there doing that necessary work, you have that expense, and you're not earning. You build your time up, and that business always comes first. If you're getting ready to go on vacation and a big client that you've been courting for the last several months tells you that they need you there the next day to go ahead and do this job that came up, well, that vacation is not going to happen. When you have that gig economy approach, you are in complete control of that business. And if you don't want to work, you just simply don't turn the app on. You don't accept any jobs. It sheds all of that expense. And whereas most drone operators, certainly mom and pop shops, so to say, they do a handful of jobs a week. Now you can do as much work as you want. Even just 2 jobs a day gets you into a very enviable income bracket. And you can do more than that if you want. You can do all of your jobs through the Drone on Demand app. You can do none of them, or you can do some of them. You have the complete freedom. In fact, we encourage you to go out and hustle your own business outside of that. And whatever you negotiate with your contacts is your deal. That's your money. If you're going to run it through our ecosystem, which includes our insurance, obviously, in our cloud and all the rest, we're going to take 10% as a service fee for it. But that's it. You can hire people if you want, run them through the program, have them go out to do your jobs. You have the whole idea of the program is flexibility and empowerment, and it's key. Let's see. Okay, we talked about this. I went ahead again. Another thing I want to point out about the Drone on Demand Services app, as because you guys are out there, the capabilities of commercial drone pilots vary greatly. There really isn't any type of well-known or generally accepted yet kind of certification process that the industry's coalesced around. I know AUVSI has their certificate program, but that really hasn't caught on with widespread adoption yet. You're going to be going out there under the Aqualine brand, representing Aqualine, to be a household name. that people recognize and expect a certain, they know that a person's going to be properly trained. They know that they're going to be safe. They know they're going to be insured. They know they're going to be licensed. They know that their equipment is properly maintained. They're going to know all of that. And we're going to charge them about $175 an hour. That's roughly half of what other people are charging now. And so we have a superior product. It's easier to go ahead and initiate the job, significantly easier, and it costs almost half. It's a very, very difficult thing to compete against. And even the operators that are out there now that are currently enjoying $300 an hour plus are going to have a hard time price matching, lowering their price down to $175 an hour because they still have to do all of that other stuff that we talked about. Again, only Flight to the Future graduates, for obvious reasons, are the only ones that are going to go out and represent the Alkaline brand. They're the only ones that are going to have access to these jobs. Then where it's worth it for them to build a business the old-fashioned way at $300 an hour plus, when you're talking about $175, $150 an hour, that becomes a very different proposition. And when I say pilots earn a minimum of $150 an hour, you will frequently earn more than that. In fact, you may always earn more than that. Our AI, our algorithm, is similar to surge pricing with Uber, or if you're familiar with dynamic pricing with Airbnb, where it's constantly monitoring the market and trying to charge as much for the services as possible. But we set the floor where it will never go below 150, and that's what goes to the pilot. We'll charge about $175 per hour to the customer, and that's the difference that Aqualine keeps. But you will know and you will see exactly what you're going to get paid before you ever accept a job. So you just look at it on your device. Okay, this is going to pay me $400 for 2 hours worth of work at this time and this day. I can do that. Touch it, or you know what? I'd rather not, and just leave it there, and somebody else will pick it up. And this infographic talks about all the things that I just said, kind of flesh out how the app works and what your experience is going to be and what the customer's experience is going to be. All right, questions and answers. I'm going to go ahead and take the screen share off. Thank you for bearing with me. This is the first time I use this PowerPoint. There's definitely work for me to do to make it go more smoothly. Okay, so we can do this any way that you want. I guess the easiest way, and you just go ahead and put it into the Q&A or the chat, and I'll go ahead and answer that. Don Rogers, why would you cut the cost by half? That just cheapens the industry and the market and makes you work more to make the same amount of money. Well, Don, I don't know if you heard the entire presentation, but you will not be working more. You'll be working significantly less because you don't have to go hustle those jobs. And as far as cheapening the industry, we're talking about a race to the bottom, something like you see on some of those job boards that are out there, where the pilots are making $35, $50 to go take some photos for a real estate agent. It's not what we're talking about here at all. You'll have a very, very hard time going ahead out of the box, making $150,000 a year plus with the way the industry is now. Extremely hard, and you'll have to invest quite a bit of time and money to boot. It doesn't cheapen the industry at all. We're professionalizing it, and hopefully you can see that. Anonymous, you mentioned Manhattan. Isn't it still prohibited to take off and land inside NYC? No, it's not. You need a waiver, but it is not. Drone operations are taking place in Manhattan. Charles, how many different types of drones do you offer? Good question. Okay, so we have a whole fleet. I've got two of them here. This is our, let me see, this is our Zenith. This is for enterprise level solutions. This is for last mile delivery. This is for heavy asset inspection, things like power lines. This is a $50,000 drone. um, for very, very special, very special use cases. For the type of use cases that we're training with Drone on Demand right now, it is our Hercules 2. It's a standard quadcopter. Without the cloud, it is no more impressive or less impressive than any other commercial grade quadcopter there. It does the same as everything else. When you connect it to the cloud, that's the impressive part, and that's what sets it apart. We went ahead and we announced it last month. We did a partial merger with a publicly traded company in France called Drone Volt. Drone Volt's been operating for almost a decade now. And as part of the agreement, we have access to their entire fleet, their entire design. In fact, their production lines are being completely moved here to Connecticut. They're no longer going to manufacture these drones. We are going to manufacture them here. We're connecting them to our cloud, and we're rebranding them all as Aqualine drones. So this hardware has been out. It's been being sold for the last 3 to 5 years, depending on which the drone is, to various governments and business entities throughout the world. And they've been fully vetted, and they're very, very capable. But again, the hardware is, it's pretty standard stuff. It is the cloud that sets it apart. Don, what if you're already on your second round? What if you're already on your second round of 107? Where do you start then? I don't know what you mean by second round of 107. Maybe you mean that you're going ahead and taking, your 2-year recurrent exam. But Don, everybody starts at the beginning. That's the only way we can attest to the training, which goes far beyond what the FAA requires. I'm sure you're, not knowing you, I'm sure you're very, very knowledgeable, with the 107 regulations and everything else like that. You won't spend a lot of time in there. You just go through the modules, you take the quizzes, they'll be very easy for you. You quickly move out of that, and you go right into step 2, step 3, and step 4. Already licensed. Yeah, Don, everybody runs through the program. Of course, you don't have to sit, it'd be ridiculous, it's pointless. You wouldn't have to sit through the 107 exam a second time, but you would have to go ahead and complete the modules. And I think there's some questions in chat. Good morning, Carlos. Why would you cut the half? Do you have any screenshots of the interface with the cloud? Yeah, I do. But I don't know where they are right now, and it'd be cumbersome. So if you want to go ahead and I think that was from, Carlos, you asked that question. Carlos, when I wrap up the call, I'll dig them up and I'll send it over to you. I'm not sure where it is. I think it might be up on our website, but I'm not going to put everybody through me fumbling. And so I'll get that to you after the call. Any other questions, everyone? Going once, going twice. If anybody thinks of any questions, and there's also going to be a recording of this presentation, and I'll send Carlos the link, and he can decide if he wants to put that out. What's the time frame from completion? For completion? Good question, Scott. So when everything is released, you're looking at about 6 weeks for somebody who's already licensed Part 107. It's a streamlined program for them, and 8 weeks for everybody else. That is making some assumptions. That's assuming the average person is going to put 20 hours of study in per week. But it's all work at your own pace. So you can take 6 months to complete it if you need to, depending on what your schedule is. If you're really motivated, you can work more quickly potentially, but definitely don't blow through it. It's some very heavy content in those modules. The first people that are going through it now, and that would include anybody on this call who would sign up, are the Pathfinders. The very first ones going through it. The Drone on Demand app is scheduled to be launched in late winter, early spring. So what we're doing is we're using that time that we have here to fine tune the course, so to speak. So all the modules were built in the spring and the summer. The classes started in September. We ran a small group of people in-house, myself included, through those modules. There were some things we didn't like. Some of the material was too technical. We didn't have a lot of the videos that we now have put into the course. So we looked at the calendar and we decided it would be better, rather than having everybody go through this course that we knew we could improve upon, and then sit around for several months waiting for the app to be advertised and launch, to go ahead and make use of this time. So what we did is we kind of took a step back and we adopted the policy of a soft launch. So we took the feedback that was in-house, we incorporated the first several modules, we launched them. We set up a special email address, tpp@aqualinedrones.com. And what we're doing is we're soliciting the feedback from the people that are going through this program, and we're incorporating that feedback as we roll out subsequent modules. So now we're rolling out a module every week or so. Everybody would sign up, we get access to all the modules that have already been rolled out, which is like around 40 of them already. By the time you actually worked through all 40, you probably wouldn't even notice the soft rollout like the initial people going through, because everything else is going to be done by the time you get up to that point. But that's what we've done. That's why the price is so cheap. If you already have your Part 107 license, or you're already a Part 61 pilot in manned aircraft, it's only $7.99. For everybody else who's ab initio, it's $9.99. As we talked about, the insurance alone will cost you $2,300. That alone makes it well worth the price. We invest about $4,000 into everybody who goes through the program up front. We're actually investing more in it than you are. And the way it's very much a partnership as you go through the program, and also when you go out and start operating. Because the only way we would capture that money, the only way we become profitable or remain profitable, is if you go out, or when you go out and start earning a significant amount of money through the Drone on Demand Services app. I mean, quite literally, the more money you earn, the more money that Aqualine earns. So that's why we have this nurturing type of business model with all the support that is ongoing. Next year, first quarter of next year, when you guys go out and everybody else and start earning through the Drone on Demand Services app, we're gonna send the press your way, and they're gonna ask you about your experience going through the program and exactly how much money you're making through the Drone on Demand Services app. And at that point, we're not going to be giving it away for what we're giving away now. The price is going to go up north of $3,000 to start. We'll offer a payment plan. So you're getting a lot of value by being one of the first to go in. And another thing that I didn't mention is, in addition to ensuring that you earn no less than $150 an hour, 2 hours per job, we also don't want any market saturation. We don't want too many operators chasing the number of jobs that are out there. So when we roll in and raise that price next year, we're going to start our policy of restricting new entrants into markets. All right. So as the AI looks across the country, and there's over 40,000 individual markets in the U.S., and sees a situation where we're in danger of having too many pilots chasing too few jobs relative to demand that's out there, we will not allow the onboarding of additional people into that market until either the demand increases or the average amount of jobs that the pilots are working in that area decreases. We want to make sure that expectations are met with income. So we put that protection in there. Everybody who's going through the program now, in addition to getting that greatly reduced price, all of that value up front, they're also getting a guarantee that they will have access to their first market of choice. Next year, that's not going to be the case. In fact, we're already seeing some areas that we suspect, we're not there yet, but we suspect are going to be the first ones that we're going to have to restrict onboarding. And as you might figure, they're where the airline bases are, because we have a tremendous amount of airline pilots when they're not working very much now, so they're running through the program. So they tend to live where the airlines are based, and those are large markets that can handle a lot of people. But I suspect that those bases are going to be among the first that are going to have people from the outside waiting to get in. Let's see here. Okay, any other questions? If you have any questions that you think of later, please email me and I'll type it in right here. It's rnunnman@aquilinedrones.com. Just email me directly. And if you want, so it's right there in the chat, feel free to just call my cell phone. And I may not answer, but I will call you back. 414-915-2508. Yep, I see more questions here. Let's see here, all relicense, Joe. Are you confident that after we are fully trained that there will be enough work for us to work full or part-time? Yes. Like I said, you'll have access to our research. Spend a little time on Google. It's well documented just how strong the demand is and how quickly it's growing for drone on demand services. We're coming to market, something that's already red hot, that's growing exponentially in a very short period of time. We're offering a superior product at roughly half the price. That's economics 101. It does take a little bit of vision, but it doesn't take much. Doesn't take much vision at all to see the opportunity and see where this is headed. We pay 10% from outwork to pay for the drone, and time to pay off the typical drone is 2 years, right? Yes, Joe, that's correct. So you can pay. You don't have to finance the drone. You can just pay for it all at once. You can pay it off more aggressively and have a lower financing cost. Just think of like, paying the minimum on a credit card, or you can stretch it out and pay less per month, but have a greater financing cost associated with it. So if you stretch it out as far as you can, that's going to be 24 months, and that's right. It's roughly $200 a month, and we don't take 10% of everything you make. We only take 10% each month until that payment is satisfied. So 10% to make a $200 payment. So the first 2,000 that you earn, we'll take 10% off that first 2,000 for the month, and then you keep 100% of the rest, for the rest of the month. Hopefully I made that clear. If I have an ATP, retired U.S. fighter pilot, but it's been 20 years since I left the Air Force, now 65, just sold my financial planning firm for 20 years. Would I be a good candidate for this endeavor? Yes, Joe, you'd be an excellent candidate. You've got an ATP. If you're not current, that's fine. Still, the 799 program is one for you. But because you're not current, you have to take the full FAA exam. Current pilots have an abbreviated exam, and they can do it right online. Not a big deal. It just means that you'll have to take the full exam. We'll train you. You'll pass it no problem after you go through the program, and you have to go to an FAA testing center, of which there's hundreds all across the country. But that's it. So you'd be fine. There is no upper age requirement limitation by the FAA for commercial drone operations, and there's no medical either. So you just self-certify that you're healthy and sound, and go out there and do it and earn. In fact, you're exactly the type of candidate that we want. Is there a certain level of expertise you're looking for? No, Charles, not at all. We're going to train you, and the missions that you fly are going to be, if not completely automated, heavily automated. So you know the type of person that you are. If you're the type of person that will show up on time, present well, that has an attention to detail, that respects this hardware as an aircraft, the fact that you're in a drone club, tells me that you do all of these things. You're not going to go and just throw it in the back seat. You're not going to go pick it up by the rotors or anything like that. You're the type of person that we want. We don't want somebody who's sloppy, who's just sloppy, doesn't take care of the equipment, doesn't respect it as an aircraft, and isn't reliable. And we will make you the expert if you're not an expert already. We'll we will make you one of the most knowledgeable people in the commercial field. Is anything live yet? Yes, it is. People have been working through the program since September. Joe, are you confident that after we're fully trained that there will be enough work? Yes. Okay, sorry. Well, we talked about that. Can we use your existing DJI drones? No, not for the Drone on Demand Services app. Existing drones, even if we wanted to, we couldn't tie third-party equipment into our cloud. Because that's proprietary. What we need is a list of APIs. It's essentially the toolkit that will allow our cloud to talk to their technology. They're never going to give it up. And without it being tied to the cloud, you can't get all of those benefits. We can't verify that it's being maintained, that's being flown properly. We don't have the command and control automation or anything like that. And also the appetite, because we're going to tell everybody who doesn't know already. We're going to tell everybody that this is 100% U.S. manufactured, and we're going to tell them why that's important. So I would expect the appetite for certainly enterprise level customers, real estate's in those low paying jobs and stuff like that, probably aren't going to ever care. But if you're going to expect to do any utility inspection or any commercial construction site monitoring or anything like that, people are going to demand U.S. manufactured drones here in just a little bit, because we're going to make sure of it. Is mission planning done with your software, or do we use Litech drone? Yeah, it's all done with our software. Everything's in-house. Carlos, how many instructors? Carlos, the whole program's online. So I don't know exactly what you mean by instructors. So we have instructors in-house. We have instructors that built from the airlines that built the program. And the equipment. But as far as doing any hands-on training or anything like that, when you get to the end of the program, what the idea was, what we originally conceptualized was the hands-on portion. There's a lot of simulation that's built into it in step 3. And there was going to be a hands-on portion where you're essentially interfacing with the drone, like a fly-by-wire system on an airplane or an FMS, if people are familiar with that. So it's really wasn't your stick and rudder skills that where you needed to evaluate, but your ability to interface with the command and control from the cloud-based dashboard, which you can do from anywhere. So we were going to have the drones flying from anywhere, most likely here in Connecticut, with an instructor, having you do a check ride. The FAA shut us down on that. They didn't like it at all. So what we've come up with is the final step. When we go ahead and ship you your drone, you're going to go ahead and deploy it in a safe area, safe environment that you choose as a fully licensed and fully trained operator now. And an instructor, right, an evaluator, really more of an evaluator, is going to run you through a pattern while they're monitoring all the telemetry and the camera. And you do that satisfactorily, land safely. That's the final check, the final check off, and then you're fully onboarded. So nobody's reached the end of the program yet. So we haven't ramped that up or even done hiring or anything like that. But we'll have as many instructors or evaluators as we need when we get to that stage here in the next couple of months, in order to make sure there isn't a backlog. But boy, I'll tell you, the FAA was not happy when they found out that we were planning on having people pilot them remotely. They didn't like that. Are these educators trained in teaching? I don't fully understand the question, Carlos, but you know what? If you want to talk after, give me a call and I'll make sure that you get what you're looking for. How many versions of the cloud software is deployed at this moment? I don't know if we're at 2 point something or 3 point something. I don't know how many updates there's been. But the cloud was built and switched on March or April, and it's been running all of our apps ever since that point. What platform is used to teach on? Everything's on our cloud, Carlos. You access it through any modern web browser. In fact, since you're asking, let me show you a little bit of the program. Let me do another screen share here and log in under my account, show everybody. Screen share. right. There we go. Right. Zoom. All right, so this is where you log in. This is when you're taking the course. Like I said, just any web browser. And I never know where it's going to spit me out because everybody's in my account all the time. But you launch Flight to the Future. Let's look at the lesson 1.8. All right. Let's see here. So it's a mixture of videos, quizzes, required reading, and text-based learning. All right, so here's some of the material. All right. Of course, we all know about the national airspace. It's everything that's above the ground. So, but very granular information. And I think we'll probably have a video after this. Let's see. So this is what guys can inspect, guys and girls. And this is very, very detailed information. So I'm not sure if there's a video in this section. Let's see. Yeah, here we go.
Understanding the National Airspace System. The National Airspace System, NAS, is formed by the airspace, navigation facilities, and airports of the United States, being jointly managed by the FAA and the DoD. It consists of associated information, services, rules, regulations, policies, procedures, personnel, and equipment, including components shared jointly with the military. Types of airports.
So that's what you got. Pilot crashes the drone. Don't crash the drone, Carlos, please. But good question. What happens for a replacement or repair? Ultimately, there's going to be regional dealerships, centers that'll handle that. We're not there yet. That's coming in the next couple of years. In the meantime, we don't want you to be without a drone because if you're without a drone, you're not earning, which means we're not earning. So we will ship you a loaner and you will ship that one back to us. And we will either fix it or make the loaner your new drone. But the idea is to get you back up in the air as quickly as possible. The drone's insured, Carlos. So at least if you're insured with us, that's a $10 million liability policy and a whole policy. The sensor is not insured. In fact, it's very hard, even in the open market, to go ahead and buy insurance for the sensor. So you will be responsible for that sensor, 100%. But a hole's insured, and any property or damage any damage you can do to somebody else or their property, that's insured as well. But everything's automated, so you're not going to crash. Don, is that $799 a year? No, that is just the cost to run through the program and be onboarded, and then that's it. And that $799, that's all you're going to pay up front, ever, at least for the first year. Well, that's not quite true. Whatever licensing fees, whatever taxes your county and state charge when your business is registered, it's usually between 100 and 200 bucks. You have to pay that. And if you're not already a pilot, you'll have to go to an FAA testing center. They usually charge $100 or $150. Aqualine never sees any of that. But the idea is that you don't have to reach into your pocket or your bank account again, ever. After you pay that initial $799, up to including, the drone. Like I said, Don, just to review, everything's essentially included in that first year and that $799 price. And then going forward, you'll have to start paying for insurance $1,400 through us, roughly double, $2,400 if you go outside of us. That's a no-brainer. And then the cloud is like $20 a month. So beyond that, any type of maintenance, repair, and overhaul service you're responsible for. Anything that involves cracking the drone open, we will handle. Anything else, use fresh set of batteries, rotors, that sort of thing. We'll just send to you and you do yourself. It's nominal. What's a battery? What's a rotor? I don't know, but you're talking about $150 a year plus. You're not talking about maintaining a car. It is a minimal cost. Is anything live yet? Yes, we answered that. Yes, it's live. Can we use our existing DJI drones? No. Is mission planning done with your software? Yeah, we already answered that, didn't we? Will you help with government jobs? Yeah, absolutely. The government is a customer. Some of these, it's kind of interesting. So if you're talking about, here's a perfect example. Florida FPL, Florida Power and Light, the power distribution company down at least in South Florida. They are using contractors to do their power line inspections. Okay, it's kind of interesting, but they have to be badged. They have to be given a vest and a decal that says they represent FPL. There's an additional level of scrutiny there. So what's going to happen with jobs like that? See, everything comes into Aqualine, right? And the AI is smart enough to know the kind of more common requests, special events, that sort of thing, roof inspections, photographs for real estate, that sort of stuff. Okay, those are very common, easy to understand jobs. Spits them out on the app right away. Other jobs, like let's say FBL, we're coming and put in a request for 100 operators to inspect all their power lines over a span of 6 months or an ongoing basis. Okay, that's not something that's just going to burp out on the app. That's something that the AI flags, and it goes to our flight planning, airline style operations. Right, it comes in. We go ahead and we vet the job. We figure out what's going to need. We essentially build them the solution because they're not going to know how many operators are going to need. They're going to tell us what they need done, and we're going to figure that out. And then we're going to go ahead and flash it on the app to the people that are properly trained. And that's how we're going to go ahead and do that. And then, there's also going to be additional steps because now you're going to have to, I'm sure there'll be some type of requirements that they're going to need. You're going to need to be, like I said, send a vest, send a decal for your car, that sort of thing. But that's a perfect example of a more complicated job. And we'll take the steps to go ahead and build that solution. And then you're the pilots that we train. You're the pilots that have our hardware. You're the pilots that are up to our standards. Nobody else is. You're the ones who are going to be flying the missions. We don't have in-house pilots here, like the traditional model where you have like a company like Juniper Unmanned. That's what they do. They're drone operators. Okay, that's their business, and they have on-staff pilots to go ahead and go out and do it. It's not how we're going to work here. You guys who go through this program are the only ones who are going to be qualified to do these jobs. And as you get these more complicated jobs, they're still going to come in through the app, and we're still going to flash it out to you. As long as you're trained, if you need to inspect power lines and you're only trained in videography and photography, it's not going to appear for you. It's going to appear for the people who have been trained in asset inspection. Those are the ones we're going to tap. Do you have financing or scholarship programs for the initial cost, Nicholas? No, I know $1,000, everybody's in a different situation. I know it's not a trivial amount of money. It's a very small amount of money for what you're getting, but we don't finance it. But what we do is we accept every credit card. And when you want to go sign up, go right to flighttothefuture.com, right on the top. Actually, I'm sorry, aqualinedrones.com. aqualinedrones.com. Right at the top is Flight to the Future button. Select Success Kit, either pilots or non-pilots. Captures your name and information and put your credit card in, and then you're enrolled. You'll get access anywhere from that afternoon to within a few days. It depends on when you go ahead and place the order and when new people are batched with enrollment. But you'll have access to everything very, very quickly. All right. I don't see anything else up here in the chat box. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, we talked about that. And let's see here. All right. And in the chat, can I repeat the cell? Sure. And it's right above in the chat. I don't know if everybody can see it, but my cell phone number is 414-915-2508. Ross, I missed the cost of the drone if it was specified. No, I don't think I ever said that. The cost, I said what the payments would be, but the cost up front, if you're to write a check, the drone's about $4,000. Like I said, everything is made here in the US. And the sensor, depending on what you specialize in, it's going to determine the sensor, but they're all right around $500. So you're looking at a total cost around $4,500 for the hardware. I think it comes with 6 batteries, maybe 5 batteries, big case to carry it all safely around. I didn't bring it in here, but anyway, the controller, everything, everything comes with everything. So, yep. And the email, I'll tell you what, if you guys can't see what I typed in the chat, that's fine. I'll give you my email, but it's a little hard to give out. And I'm also going to give you an easier to write down email, which will also find its way to me eventually. My email is my first initial, Romeo, R, Nuneman at aqualinedrones.com. So that's Romeo, November, Uniform, November, Alpha, Mike, Alpha, November, November at aqualinedrones.com. AQUILINE, drones.com. Easier way to write it down, a little easier to type, is the general email. Just say, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with Roger. Info, INFO, info at aqualinedrones.com. And of course, you can also call me directly, 414-915-2508. And maybe when I send the screenshots to Carlos and also the link to this recording for anybody who maybe wanted to attend but wasn't able to, maybe Carlos, I'll put my contact information there too and ask Carlos if he's okay with it to go ahead and just blast it out to the club so everybody will have it. Thanks for sharing your time, Roger. Here's Roger's number. Thanks, Carlos. And Carlos, I don't think you're on it, but I wanted you to hear it. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and to understand the program and share it with your members. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we can continue to work together and have a mutually beneficial relationship and friendship. I love Austin. I spent a lot of time there, Austin area, when I was an airline pilot based in Houston. Fell in love with that town. It's changed a lot, as everybody knows, in the last decade, but still a great place, full of great people. And I will be getting back down to Austin, so maybe I can actually meet after this whole COVID thing is over and life starts to return to normal. Maybe I can actually meet a lot of you guys, girls that are on this call today. So, any other questions, guys? Can you run third-party apps on your drone? Nope. We control it all. We lose control of the process. We lose control of the safety. So no, you can't. Nice, Carlos. Thanks. Okay, let's see in the chats. Cost of the drone and hardware, about $4,500 for Ross. All right, guys. You asked a lot of great questions, really good questions. And that speaks to the, you know, the level of professionalism and competency in the club. And I really appreciate that. So I'm going to cut it off here. And again, everybody, thank you. Like I said, it does take a little bit of vision. That's why these webinars tend to run long. But we've really talked about virtually every aspect of Aqualine as far as it pertains to this line of business, Flight to the Future opportunity and the Drone on Demand Services app. So there's nothing like around the corner. Your hands are never tied. You're never on the hook for anything more. It is all about flexibility and transparency. So hopefully I conveyed that. All right, guys, everybody enjoy your weekend. Thank you again. Special thank you again to Carlos. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.